I'm going to be talking about digital trends in Africa. This is information that I've pulled from various online sites, typically provide stats on the region. But I want to make this more a session where everyone participates. You know, like a lot of you work for various companies, you work for B2B, B2C, you know, we've got digital agencies and so on. So I want to hear from you all during this session, like what you are seeing that's working, for instance, for your brand. Because, you know, for a lot of people, what works for one business does not work for the other one. You know, Audrey mentioned about, you know, having a team, for example, within the company. Like, I would 100% support that as well. You typically want somebody that knows your brand. You can't always hire out for an agency. Other times, though, people can't, you know, they typically, you know, can't hire in-house, so they have to have an agency do something. So just a little bit about me. So I run a digital agency called Social Chefs. I also run a Facebook Live show every week. It's called Social Chatter. We basically take what's new on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, YouTube. We basically pull the highlight out and try to position it for a business. Like, how can a business apply this technique? Previously, I worked for IBM in social as well for quite a few years. And now I'm doing my own thing. So just a quick breakdown on social media. So these are the channels that I identified as being the most useful here in the region. For starters, we have Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Pinterest. Does that kind of jive with what you all know of in the region? Okay. You said, what was that?
So much on the Pinterest side being the top 3. Okay.
So, and this is a breakdown, like Facebook accounts for about 63% of usage, 25% for YouTube, and then Pinterest is about 6%, or sorry, Twitter is about 6%. So now, we talked earlier about like understanding your data, why it's important to understand your data. So, for example, you know, if I were to come here and I'm thinking, oh, everybody's an Apple iPhone user, for example. How many of you have iPhones in here? Okay, a few people. How about Android? A lot more Android users. So, you know, it's important to know who your audience is and the platform they're using. For example, you know, you don't want to put the budget into building, say, an iOS app if your audience is primarily using Android because that's what they have access to. You know, device cost, I think, came up as well. I think we were talking about that earlier, maybe. Device cost is important as well. So these are the things that I'm seeing, for example, on Facebook that are working, and then I want to hear from you all pass the catch box around. So for Facebook, you know, we've got Facebook Stories. Facebook Stories, you know, they're a way for you, for example, like this morning when you got here to the conference, you know, you didn't have to like just say, hey, you know, here's a photo, I'm going to this event. You can actually tell people what you're going to, record a quick 15-second, you know, piece of video that shares, you know, your journey with your audience, and it's going to encourage them to actually follow you along. This doesn't just apply, for instance, to your profiles. This also applies to your Facebook pages. So, for example, if your business, you know, if you put on events regularly, or you know you're meeting with customers all the time, like make sure you're tapping into this feature. And I have a point to what Audrey said earlier about things that Facebook wants you to kind of like use. Another feature, live video. Who uses live video in here? Anyone? Okay. So very small percentage of people. What's your main reason why you would use live video?
I use it for product launches and unveiling of like new features for certain clients.
Okay, so for people that aren't using live video, what's your reasoning behind not using it? Is it, you know, no strategy? Is it a time thing? Is it, you know, a bandwidth issue? And you can totally just tell me like, hey, you know, we don't use it because, you know, we just don't have a strategy for live video. Okay. Facebook ads. You know, Facebook wants, you know, it's getting harder, as you've learned, to get your content in front of your audience. I would recommend, you know, you definitely have to have ad budget set aside. You know, that ad budget is not just to, you know, okay, I have a piece of content, I want to boost it to my audience. but also tapping into, bringing more people into your funnel. You have to remember, you have a big sales funnel. You're getting people into the top and you're moving them down that funnel, to get them interested, for example, in a product, a service you offer. So you definitely have to have budget for ads. I know it's kind of hard to forecast budget, but I would say go big on your budget. Typically, you're setting that probably the last quarter of the year. But set aside a big budget because you know that Facebook and all the other channels want you to have ad budget. And then also, when you're doing your targeting, you have to be specific. Don't just use the boost post button, for example, on Facebook. It's an easy way for people to just, push a piece of content to somebody. You have to get specific. You have to know who your customer is. You have to be building a custom audience or a lookalike audience through your Facebook ads off of the content that they're reading. So YouTube. So, this, from what I gather, this takes about 25% of market share in the region. One thing I'm definitely going to recommend, repurposing your content. I heard you were talking about search engines earlier. Blogging, search engines, it's not dead. You need to be building your channel there. How many people watch YouTube videos in here? A pretty good percentage, I think. That content doesn't just show up on YouTube because somebody has, just uploaded it and, oh, hey, your video is, exactly what YouTube wants to see. There's work that has to be put into the content. So I would recommend, if you want to get more mileage out of your videos, embed them in your blog post that you're publishing on your own site. And I say on your own site because, all your social media content, you don't own the channels that you're publishing that on. So if Facebook were to shut down or they wanted to change what they're recommending to people to use, all of your content's still going to be on your site. You're going to get traffic that way. YouTube Live also, again, if live video is, I see it as a trend. YouTube is kind of following Instagram. They're following Instagram in the sense that live video is what they want. They're pushing vertical video now as well. So, it may seem silly. I mean, how many people remember, a few years ago, when somebody took a photo or video, or say they took a video and it was vertical, you always gave them a hard time because it had all the black bars on the side. Nowadays, though, they want you to be creating the vertical video. Instagram is kind of leading the charge on that. YouTube is following suit because they know, hey, we have to be innovating where our customers are going to be at. Now, in addition to this, this is something that came up earlier, and one of those things that I highly can't stress enough is you want to be dominating Google and YouTube search. Google, #1 search engine, YouTube, #2. Anything you published on your YouTube channel, it's going to show up on Google when people are, searching for something. When you go do a search on Google, for example, and you're pulling up the same websites all the time, how do you think those websites are getting to the top? They're doing what most people will not do. People don't spend enough time on, for instance, picking a keyword for their content that they're writing or that video they're uploading to YouTube. They don't spend enough time on the research. They just upload it and think, oh, hey, Google's going to just surface my content magically. It doesn't happen. For that, I would recommend, if you are going to use any sort of YouTube video uploads, check out a tool called TubeBuddy. What that will do is it will help you do keyword research, so you can quickly identify which keywords you should optimize your content for. It will help you see which of the indicators, for example, the length of the title, the description, as well as what tags other channels are using to get their videos ranked. And Twitter. How many participate on Twitter? Okay, how many of you have tapped into tweet chats or a Twitter chat? Okay, so this is basically where it's about engaging. We talked about engagement, it's important, A Twitter chat, it's basically taking creating a discussion, and it could be, a 30-minute discussion, a 1-hour discussion. You might hold it once a month, once a week, but you basically can go on there and everything you're tweeting out is public. So you're able, your followers are able to see what you're tweeting, people searching for keywords, following hashtags, following specific topics, your information will show up. It's also a way for you, if you're a business, for example, you can hold your own Twitter chats. For example, Oracle, do y'all hold any Twitter chats?
I've tried all the time.
Yeah.
Very difficult because you got to really do a lot of research as well.
I mean, you can keep it totally simple too, by the way. You could have one topic that, for example, we talked about getting feedback from your customers. What are they telling you? For example, if you have, constantly getting emails from your customers about a topic, that could be an opportunity to have a Twitter chat around just that one topic. And all you're doing is answering the topic and listening to your audience, with maybe you have like 5 questions, for example, and you ask the question, you have a host on, and you can have your audience chime in. It's a way for you, for example, like to get your customer service team involved. It's a way for you to learn more about your business, areas that you might need to improve. But they're really easy to use. They work for mobile, and you pop in, you have your Twitter chat, you go offline, and you come back later on. Engagement. Engagement is also really, really, really important. A lot of people, how many schedule content? Like, you're at this conference, how many have their content all scheduled out? Okay, a few people. Well, so it's great to have content scheduled ahead of time when you know you're going to be busy, but it's not a set it and forget it model. You can't just schedule all your content out and not engage or not be present. So I would recommend, if you're not getting the results, for example, on Twitter that you want to see, you need to check out your Twitter analytics. Make sure you're tapping into relevant hashtags, to help broaden your reach and bring in the right audience. And then also, this was mentioned earlier, but experimentation is key. In the case of Twitter, they have 140 characters. They increased that to 280. Great, more space to write. But that doesn't change things necessarily. They've also added in images, the ability to add videos. I was checking out the Twitter feed for Digimarca Africa. A lot of people were putting in animated GIFs, which really went along with finding all the gold nuggets, for example. Within the feedback that you're getting, you can also tap into chatbots, and also have Twitter handle some of your customer service. So these are the trends that I'm seeing, but I want to hear from you all. I want to pass the catch box around. So if you're a brand, what are things you're doing, for example, in the region where you're seeing the most success? And I want to make this a session where we're networking, we're talking more. What are you doing that's working for you? And don't be shy, please.
So working in East Africa, the 3 countries are very different,
okay,
especially in terms of social media. Twitter in Tanzania, for instance, hardly exists.
Okay.
There is no impact when you advertise on Twitter in Tanzania. But in Kenya, I think more than 60% of them are active on Twitter. So we might be taking out the same message about the hospital.
Okay.
And it will be very successful on Twitter in Kenya.
Mm-hmm.
But it will have no impact on Twitter in Tanzania, and Uganda are based on Facebook.
Okay.
So we found that it's based also on data charges, because internet in Tanzania is very cheap.
Okay.
It's around 100 Rand for 10 GB a week. So we find that people have more access to Instagram and YouTube. So it very much depends on the region.
Okay.
We know which region would respond to video quicker, and we know which region consumes which type of information. So we might have the same message, but we have to tailor it completely different for the 3 countries.
So have you tapped into maybe SMS messaging? Have y'all, what are you doing to get into that region, I guess?
I think WhatsApp is the most effective across the board. So once we get into WhatsApp groups of our audiences, that's the most effective reach that we have. Okay. Or subscription for the people who have subscribed, we can send one email that's the most successful that we have. And I think Facebook is the overall winner for all 3 countries, yeah. Okay,
are y'all doing any sort of ads for Facebook, or are you just posting natively?
Yeah, especially for things like calls for abstracts or something that's happening in the region, like an event. So we do ads and we boost depending on which audience we want.
So one thing you may want to do is, if you're going to run ads, make sure you're also trying to do some targeting on competitor pages or specific topics that may be relevant. Okay. And then maybe consider building a lookalike audience. Another thing also is, if you're driving people to your own content back to your website, make sure you've got Facebook Pixel installed. The benefit there is you'll be able to, for example, if somebody visits a website and maybe they're, it could be about a product. What kind of product are we talking about here?
It's education and health, so access to hospitals,
Okay.
hospital services and education services.
Okay, so for example, if somebody visited an educational page, if you have Facebook Pixel installed, what you can do then is you can run ads that are targeting just the people that come back to your website that you know, because you'll know this now with the Pixel, you'll be able to come back and retarget those people on education with an ad that is just about education. So it's personalizing the experience based off of what the person is viewing. Sure. Thank you, by the way, for the question.
Thank you. Nokola Chalale from New Frame. So we are a brand new little baby NGO that literally just started 2 months ago. But our funders are amazing, so that's why I'm here. That being said, I worked for a big corporate company. And obviously, when you work in such a big company, there are many things that get done by many people that you don't know. So when you do digital in that kind of environment, you kind of take a lot of things for granted. So now, being the online editor, I'm doing what a gazillion people were doing, right? And trying to get a hold of Facebook and Google to do certain things that I know had been done previously is a headache. Like, how do you, because I'm not going to hire an agency because as much as we have great funding, we're not making a profit. So I'm not trying to like waste money.
Okay.
But we have money to spend and I need to know how to spend it efficiently and effectively. And I'm just trying to get an appointment. And it's just like, it doesn't happen.
So what is it you need them to do, I guess?
Okay, so like you said, there are many things that go into, your website doesn't just pop up on search, for instance.
Right.
And also, as much as we are targeting our Facebook spend in a particular way, we're trying to create a new account for the organization. So right now, things as simple as trying to get the credit card off of my account and have it an official organization account is something that has taken more than 2 months to fix with Facebook, you know, which I feel like I don't understand why it's taking so long. So really tiny things, I don't know why there's such a gap between organizations or, like businesses and these giants, you know, Facebook and Google. Like, why is there such a gap? I'm just trying to have a conversation.
So I know like Facebook, for example, they typically only like, if you're like a big ad spender with them, they'll assign you like an ad manager so you can actually get access to people. But aside from that, they kind of leave it up to the audience, like the user. In your case, you may want to check out like Facebook Business Manager. That might be something that way your ads, your credit card, for example, is under your business. Because right now it sounds like it's just on your personal account.
Like I'm saying, we have Facebook Business Manager, but for some reason, Facebook has decided that I am the business by myself. And it's linked the page to my personal account because I am the admin of it. So, and also things like when I launched another website 2 years ago, even though our traffic was in the millions, we weren't necessarily showing up on search. And then someone did something in the back there, and all of a sudden we had a Google consultant. And I understood that it's because their revenue was tons, you know? But we have a lot of money that we are trying to spend, but we can't spend it because no one is trying to have like an appointment.
We'll definitely, like during the networking break, like we'll chat and I'll see if I can help you some more. What other questions anybody have?
I just want to know what day of the week your Twitter chat is.
Or my Facebook Live, I do it on Fridays usually. So let's see, like 5, 6 a.m. So very early. Do you have a question? Is there a hand up? Okay. Okay. What other questions does everyone have? Or any insights you want to share? Sure.
The difference between your universal app install versus something like SEM or SEO, which one would you suggest actually has a bigger impact?
I mean, I think you need to kind of do all of those things. Like the SEO is where I would start. You know, for example, if you're going to write content, like you need to have your key, like I would go that route and see if you can get Google to pick things up quickly. There is a way for you to submit content to them. So if you write a piece of content, you can actually submit the link directly to them and tell them to crawl your site. By the way, for those of you that aren't blogging, one of the reason a lot of sites show up at the top is because Google is constantly searching for signals. They want to see you publishing content on your site. It could just be, hey, I took my social media post and I embedded it into my article, but it gives them the signals to go crawl your site. If you're not doing that sort of thing, Google's not going to crawl your site. You're going to have no chance of getting in search. So in that case, I go the route of search. There's a tool called Yoast SEO you can use when writing your content. Drop your keywords in. It will tell you based on your article how many of the signals you're hitting, and it will also give you an indicator of which of the keywords, for example, you may be trying to target a keyword that's not the main keyword that it thinks is in your content. So it can help you really start to formulate it and get it down to a science.
And you would overlay that then with the universal app install ads as well, in the event that you have an app over and above.
I think that app installs are, a hard thing to get people to use. You can drop them in your site. You can have it where if you have a mobile app install, you can have it actually pop up on your site. I prefer the SEO side and then use say the Facebook ad side or the social ad side. The app installs, like I said, they're hard. So maybe what you could do for an app install is have that on your site, but maybe what you also need to do is reach out to sites, for instance, that are reviewing apps, or reach out to other bloggers, start to build a network and encourage them to actually write about your app. That way it can help you spread the word about it.
Cool, thanks.
Thank you for allowing me to give this presentation.